Hello and welcome to Rosie's Preserving School pressure canning afternoon, live through to the bitter end. And today we're going to be processing some beef to make tasty beef and vegetables. Now, that's not very descriptive, but it's not like saying a lovely casserole or something, but with these sorts of things, as with the mince a couple of weeks ago, you've really got to think, what am I going to use this for? What do we eat? It's no good me doing some luscious dish that we enjoy, and then you're sort of trying to pick your way through it, thinking, well, we don't really eat that, and nobody likes that, and all this kind of thing. So this is another basic staple recipe that really I put as little in as possible in terms of strong flavors, so that when I come to use it, it's quick and adaptable, and it can go in all sorts of different ways without it being one overriding flavor. So in my pan, I've got my vegetables all prepped. And again, I've kept those to vegetables that I know survive the processing and the reheating. It's no good having something too delicate that sort of turns to mush. So I've got carrots and celeriac, which are very good vehicles for taking on flavors later on. And I've got onions and garlic. And I've steered away from anything like beans or things like that. Green beans, I mean, not the dried beans. I'm doing beef today. You don't have to do beef. You could do lamb instead if your family enjoy lamb and you can obtain it at a reasonable price. Then you can substitute lamb in this quite easily with the same sort of ratio of ingredients and the vegetables. So I've got my beef in here. It's already cut up, but it is quite chunky. So I'm probably going to cut some of the pieces in half, just because I don't want just 3 chunks in a jar. I want sort of a bit more than that. I'm using the 750ml jars because there's room for a decent layer of meat and vegetables. I've got my stock ready, my vinegar ready. I'm just going to season these vegetables before I go any further, otherwise I'll forget. So I've got some dried thyme, which I'm just going to sprinkle in. Nothing too, kind of, this can only go one way. And I've got some sage as well, and that just gives it a bit of a herby flavor, and a little bit, sorry, I thought it was sage, it's black pepper actually. I'm only going to put a little bit of black pepper because this is freshly ground and quite strong. And I'm not going to put any salt because the stock has salt in it and I don't want to make it overly salty. So I will put a bit of sage as well, which can just go in. I like herbs like thyme and sage because they're nice and kind of rounded, nothing too extreme about them. That's that. And what I'll do with those, just give them a stir with a ladle. I know that's a bit mad, but I'm going to be using it in a minute for stock. So I'll just give them a stir around to mix those in a bit. I always do plenty of vegetables. I don't worry too much about the overall weights of them. The recipe is a guide, but if you've got too many at the end, you can always pop them in a jar with any leftover stock and just process them along with the meat. And then you've got a good filler should you need to open, and make more of a dish for visitors or that kind of thing. I'm going to put some gloves on because it will just be quicker than me keep going off washing my hands after cutting this meat up. And then I'm going to try and even out the meat between the 7 jars. You could be, exact about it and weigh them as you go, but I'm not of the mind to do that. So I'll just put, I'll sort of put, I'll do them like a couple in each one and keep going around till all the mix used up. You want to do just one or two and then you've used it all up and you haven't got enough for the last jars. This processes down absolutely beautifully. It is so tender and cooked, but it doesn't taste. I think some people think it's going to taste like sort of boiled meat or canned meat that you get in a tin. You know, if you bought a tin of beef stew or something, it has that kind of texture that's not very nice. But this just tastes freshly cooked once it's opened and used. So I've got 2 kilos of beef here, which is going to give a good amount in each jar. And a huge piece there I'll cut up. I think it's even cheaper to buy. I mean, not that it's cheap in any way at all, but it's cheaper to buy a whole piece of stewing steak and cut it up yourself, I think. So that's something to think about. Big piece. Even these up a bit with the last bits. I've got my canner on, so it's starting to heat up, ready for these. Right, just move them around a bit so there's less gaps. And then we can put the layers of vegetables on. Take my gloves off. Move this pan out of the way for the moment. Right. And here's the vegetables. I'm going to use the funnel, otherwise they'll be rolling all over the place. But I've got my... You need to just fill them as high as you can. We'll give them a shake in a minute, and you can, generally speaking, fit a few more in. I'll go around again, just doing a few in each, so that they're even. I've got plenty of garlic in this mix. If you don't like garlic, you don't need to use it. It's not essential to anything. But I find things like sweet potatoes and that perhaps you'd normally put into a casserole type dish are kind of too soft for the processing. Best to put them in when you reheat if you want to bulk it out or add sweet potato in for a particular reason. This on the floor. Just give them a bit of a slight press down, don't go mad pressing. That's probably all right now. Oops. When you've done these and processed them and have them on the shelf, it might be handy to put on the label what vegetables is in there. You know, if you just put tasty beef and vegetables, it's a year on, you're not going to necessarily remember. So just put carrots and celeriac or something like that. So you've got some idea of where to go from for when you open it and use it. All right, that's about it. I think it's nearly all my vegetables used. Right. I don't even think there's enough for another jar of plain vegetables, to be honest. Right. All that a day. I'll keep my ladle just in case I need that. I'm not sure how this jug pours. So you can see in there that the layer of meat at the bottom and the vegetables on the top. They don't need to be mixed together to process efficiently or anything like that. They're fine like that. Okay, so now we need to top up, as usual, with stock up to the top of the where the headspace, 3 centimeters, 1 inch, the line on the jar, whatever you use to be your guide. I'm going to empty this jug a little bit. And if the vegetables sort of push up a bit, don't worry too much. As everything starts to cook down, they'll sink down again. If you watch Rose Red Homestead on YouTube, you'll see she grabs the vegetables in right to the top and keeps pushing them in and pushing them in. And I think, oh golly, but that's years and years of experience for you. That's number 2. I'm using the Vegemite mix that was on the recipe sheets a few weeks ago, which is generally my go-to stock, unless I happen to have roasted a chicken or something and have made stock and it's suitable for what I'm making, then I tend to use this. Right, as my jar's filled out, I'm just going to give it a poke to get any air out. It's a bit difficult to poke when it's packed, but as you do it, you can see the bubbles rising up the side of the jar. So it is worth doing, because as it processes, they will expand and they can unseal the jar if you're not careful, or prevent it from sealing. It's number 1. You might get a few more vegetables in as well if you've got any left, that where the air has been released, it all sinks down a bit. It looked tasty like that without being cooked yet. Two to go. Right, so I'm just going to use up the last little bit of stock that I've got. Don't worry if it doesn't come up over the vegetables. It'll all get cooked and processed in the heat. So this is just so I'm not throwing away good stock. That's that. So now we're going to do the, I'm going to do the seals. Got my dish of vinegar waiting. I've got the seals waiting and the lids. My paper. clean the rim of the jar. Because with all this pushing and shoving of ingredients, we would have contaminated it with something or other. Don't worry if the vinegar goes down into the contents, it won't make the slightest bit of difference to the flavour. Use another piece to do the seals. Now we just need the lids, or screw bands, whichever you've got. Just do them up finger tight. That's my 7 jars that will just fit in the pesto in one layer, because you can only get one layer of the 750s in. There's not enough room to do 2 anyway. And take the lid off. It's quite hot, so I'm going to turn it away from me. Put it down. Get these in. You're standing on tiptoe. To put my vinegar in again. Put what you've got left. There's a piece of carrot in there. Put what you've got left into the canner, and to stop the lime scale from the water making your jars all white on the outside. Last one. That's it. And I can get the I'll turn it round actually. Just cut a little bit. I think is that right? Put the lid on and start to see if we can get the steam up to venting. Now then, this is one, yeah. It's in the right place. We can't get it onto the notes. Oh, close it up. I'm throwing my weight ready. Yeah. Right, I'm going to leave you for a couple of minutes while I just clear the decks, because I need to show you something while we're waiting for the canners to vent or get up to the venting stage. So I just want to clear up the table and wipe it down. And so I'll be back in about 5 minutes or so. Hi, back again. Sorry, that took a bit longer than I thought because I stopped and washed up. So I was just going to clear the table, but never mind. How you doing, Marcin? What, you all battened down? You're on mute. Sorry.
Hello. I've only just got the veg in,
Okay.
so I've just got to wipe the lids now.
Okay.
I've got 6 litre jars and I've just got 1 small jar, which I've got to put some stock in.
Okay.
I'll just go and do my lids.
Okay, I'll wait for you to finish.
Right, thank you very much.
Stop recording if you Okay, I'm still waiting for my canner to come up to the venting stage. That won't be long, I don't think. While we're sort of waiting for that to happen, I thought it'd be useful to show you perhaps some ways of making topping for your processed meat that you're doing today, or any casserole and that kind of thing. You know, we talked about it with the mince, that you can, you know, use all sorts of toppings on top of the mince. And one of the ones I mentioned was the cobbler topping with the scone topping. And I make that very easily with yogurt and flour. And I know several of you sort of scribbled it down as I was saying it, but I thought I'd actually show you today how that works and how you can use it. So I like it because it's simple and there's no sort of rubbing in of fats or ingredients that you've got all of them except one. You know, if you've got some plain yogurt in your fridge, which, you know, it's a good habit to get into, to have it around, you just need some self-raising flour and maybe a bit of salt. And it depends on the topping you're making, how firm you want the dough to be. It doesn't come out like a scone dough would be, where you can roll it and cut it. It's very, very sort of soft, but it's super easy and super quick. I'll just grab some salt if I get sticky hands. So I'm not even going to give you weights of flour and so on. It depends on the size of the dish you've got, how much you need, and how many people you're feeding. But if you want to make more of a dish to feed more people, then you make the topping quite deep and generous, and that will fill people up as well as saving on ingredients. So I'm just going to put a couple of scoops, probably a couple of self-raising flour into this bowl. Might put another one actually. That's the flour done. I'm going to put a little bit of salt. Not too much, just a sprinkle. And then the yogurt. Now, I'm not going to put this on top of my casserole. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, well, when we come back and we're waiting for the canners to depressurize, I'm going to show you how to convert your processed jar into a tagine. And then now I'm going to make some flatbreads with my yogurt dough to have with the tagine when we have it for supper later on. But as we go along, I'll show you how easy it is to make scones out of it as well. So I've got a knife here just to mix it to start with. Put a little bit of the flour on the board because I'm bound to need that. And then I've got my plain yogurt. Now this is a natural live yogurt, smooth and creamy. Doesn't matter what you use as long as it's plain. You know, we don't want sort of strawberry yogurt toppings on our beef casserole. Oh, can't even open it. There we are. It's ripped it. A bit off. These either come off when you don't want them to, or they pulling on. Dear life. I'm going to put my pan on low as well. I've got just a frying pan here. I've got like a griddle stone at home I use for the flatbreads, but you can just use a dry frying pan. And then you put some yogurt in and you just add a bit to start with, and then you just add as much as you need to make the thickness of the dough that you need. I'm going to use the knife to mix it in to start with, otherwise the hands are completely sticky and I can't touch anything. And now it takes on the lovely sort of acidic smell and flavour of plain yogurt, which is rather pleasant when you've got something rich to eat it with. You do actually have to add quite a lot of yogurt, but I don't like just adding it straight away because you end up with everything too wet, and then you've got to add more flour, and then you end up with far more topping than you need. So you can see it comes together quite loosely there. So a tiny bit more. That's about a third of that big tub I've used so far. I may need a bit more in a minute. I'm going to try kneading it now to bring it together. Let's check my canner before. That's hissing rather nicely. I'm just going to try and use one hand because it sort of saves a lot of problems. It's not sticking together, so I'm just going to add a little bit more yogurt. think probably got down to half of that big pot now. If you start making it for particular usage, you'll get used to how much you need, and you can just do it much more quickly. On my board, a few more bits in there, but I won't worry about those, and try and get it to stick together in one lump. And if you just press it out with your hands rather than rolling it, you can then use a cutter if you want to cut circles of dough to go on the top of your casserole, and then just brush it with milk when they're in place. Just brush some milk on to get them to brown a bit. You can make one big circle and divide it up and bake it on a flat baking sheet. Or as I'm going to do, I'm going to break this up into pieces and cook it as, is that switched on? Cook it as flatbreads to go with our tagine this evening. Maybe. So I'm going to sort of cut it into 6, I think. These are better cooked fresh and served fresh. So what I'll do is sort of show you a couple, and then I'll take the rest home and make it fresh at home, cook it fresh while the tagine is heating up. So I've got my dough, and I'm going to try and press that out. It doesn't need to be regular or anything. In fact, that sort of teardrop shape of a naan bread is rather nice. If you want to make them bigger, you can, but I'm just going to make them sort of this sort of size. Press them out. And I'll do another one on this side. Pick up any bits you've drop out. Get this heated up. I haven't brought any oil with me, so I'm going to dry fry them. Normally at home, when I'm using the griddle, the flat stone on the hob, I would put a little knob of garlic butter on there and cook them in garlic butter. And then if you serve them hot, they're then, you know, really tasty. But I'll just do them dry. I don't know. I should think they'll be all right. It's so let's put one in and find some tongs to turn it over with. There we are. And my tongs. I made the mistake of making them with plain flour one day, and they were like paving slabs. They were absolutely horrible. So I won't do that again. But I found this about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and it's ever such a useful thing to sort of stand by. I mean, even if you had unexpected visitors, you could quickly make them and just have them with some cheese and pickles or something. You know, it's quicker to do than making scones and all of that. So, and as I say, there's no rubbing in or anything, just a bit of stirring. But you almost need to sort of not burn them exactly, but really cook them toasty. And it's a bit like when you cook pancakes, the first one's sort of never as good as all the others, really. Mustn't forget the canner. That's pissing away. It's got 7 big jars in it, so it takes quite a long time to get the ingredients hot as well as everything else. They will puff up slightly with the flour. You can see even on the board there, puffing up. I'm just going to turn it over and do the other side, and then I'll turn it back again. So I'm going to turn it over. I can't do it with these tongs. There we are. So you can see they toast really nicely.
Rosie,
Mm,
I was so busy, I couldn't hear properly. Is it self-raising flour
just
with
self-raising flour and some salt and
salt?
plain yogurt.
So yeah, you use the bio yogurt, yeah.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
any
it's not,
yogurt, plain.
and as long as it's plain, yeah, you
Yeah.
don't want any
Yeah.
peaches in there or anything.
Oh no, no, no.
And then just mix the yogurt in gradually until you get the consistency that you want.
Right.
It's easy to put too much yogurt in and get it's too soft, you can't pick it up or anything, so you
Right.
just do it bit by bit and
Yeah.
until it's the right consistency, and then just knead it a little bit. It's not like pastry, it doesn't behave like pastry in the way, you know, that it will all cling together. You're going to have bits that fall off and that sort of thing, but you can see how it puffs up in the pan very pleasingly. Firms up, pan's heating up, so but you can cut them out or cut them up and put them as a topping on a casserole in a dish, like a scone topping.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I've made it too wet, I've literally spooned it onto the top in sort of blobs, and then it all spreads out and just makes a complete topping over the top, and you cut through it and it's all fine, it all works okay. So I'll just get a plate to put those on. There's one. And a couple of that sort of size is plenty with a meal. Really. I have got carried away in the past and made sort of quite big naan-sized ones, but really I can't actually eat that much with a casserole as well, you know, it's all a bit too much. So but I'll cook the rest of these fresh when we have our meal tonight.
I'm debating to, I bought a bit extra meat. So when we sort of have a break, I was debating of sort of sauteing that, because I can't get it in my jars, and using the rest of the veg and doing it in the oven, the meal,
Yeah,
rather than opening the jar up.
yeah, you can do that. Absolutely, you can do that. I've done some of this before, so I'm going to use some of my older jars
Yeah.
to show you what you can make with it. But yeah, you could do that. Just put it in a casserole dish, and then you can make your yogurt flatbreads to go with it.
Yeah. Yogurt blackbreads.
Flatbreads.
Oh, flatbreads.
Yeah, I mean, you could, if the dough's firm enough, you could roll them out thinner and make them into sort of proper flatbreads.
Yeah.
But then you've got to wash a rolling pin up, so I don't bother.
I'm a bit lazy like that.
Yeah, so am I.
No, it sounds a nice meal, so I thought I'd buy a bit extra meat.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you could put some frozen peas in if you've got some, or some tin of tomatoes, or a jar of tomatoes, whatever. You know, you could literally put in mushrooms. You can add to it, but those things. Well, the mushrooms would be all right, but peas don't pressure can very successfully. No. So I would put in a handful of frozen peas when I'm reheating it, and I would put in other things. As I say, with the tagine, I would put in a tin of tomatoes and some other ingredients, but I would do that at the point of reheating. I wouldn't necessarily, I prefer to keep the meat and two veg, as it were, or it's three veg, plainer, and then you've got a lot of scope then. And this is one of those jars that is on the shelf. It's useful week in, week out. You know, it's so versatile that you don't want to sort of commit to anything. You know, it's worth making a lot, and then you haven't got to make any more for 6 months to a year, depending on how many you're feeding. So there's the second one. I'm just going to turn my hob off there and put this to one side, because I'm going to take those back with me. Actually, I'll put them back in the bowl and I'll cook those later. This is absolutely my favorite go-to filler, and it looks impressive as well. If you kind of, oh well, I made them, you know. It's should you feel the need to say things like that, I don't know, but I'll move those out of the way, and my board, and then I can just show you. This is the cooler one of the two. I just break it, you can see, I hope it's all sort of lovely and doughy inside, and you get the lovely toasty bit. And if you've done it like I do at home, in a little tiny bit of garlic butter spread on the griddle, you get that sort of faint garlicky flavour as well, which is rather nice and easy if you've got your pressure canned wild garlic butter going. wild garlic's out now, all the leaves are out, so that's a good one to be stocking up on. Right. I'm still inventing rather annoyingly, although it won't be a few minutes, I think. Just going to go wash my hands again, and then I'll leave those near somebody who might want to nibble on them. Oh. But potato is a good topping for this sort of thing, as I said, for the mince. But if you don't want to go to all the faff of peeling potatoes and mashing them, and that's another pan, you kind of, if you come in, from work or something and you want it to get it all in the oven quickly, is just to microwave 2 or 3 skin-on potatoes, just scrub them, microwave them so they're not quite cooked. They're easier to slice that way. And then just slice them, put as many on as that you want on top of the casserole, and if you want to, dot it with butter or brush it with butter or something, or some cheese, grated cheese on the top, and then you can put the whole lot in the oven and forget about it until it's done.
I'm being harassed by the dog. Just excuse me.
Right. This is not far, I don't think.
There you go.
Yeah, my vent is starting to bubble, so that's it. I'm venting, that's good. So I'll put the timer on. Yeah, I mean, that when you kind of in your downtime moments, you think about toppings, there's lots of easy ways of just doing that without having hundreds of pans, and it's all very well if you're making loads of mashed potato or something, but just to do it specially, to go, it's just a step too far for me. Sometimes I just want something easy, so
I'm like that. My jar's got a bit cooler, so I'm bringing mine up slowly, my pressure canner.
Okay.
Because I don't.
Well, mine were in a while before yours as well, so don't worry about it. You know what you're doing with everything, so it's getting to be where the pressure canning is something we do and we know how to do, and it's the bits in between that are kind of coming to the surface more than doing every sort of stage bit by bit. But no, I think with this casserole, these casserole jars, they're just so, we've had it as tagine, which I will show you when we come back for depressurizing. So I'm going to do that with I'm going to show you the tagine, but I'm actually, when I go home with the flatbreads, we're going to have it as a curry. I'm going to put some curry paste in as well, because a tagine is not that far from a curry anyway. It's got lots of spices in it that are quite not exactly hot, but going that way. So it's not a too big a step just to put some curry paste in and have it like that. And we'll have some yogurt on the top, and we'll have the flatbreads and some rice, and it's all done, and you'll have your casserole in the oven. So it's
well, no, I shall do it as a tagine, like the recipe you've done.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I like the sound of it. The other
Yeah,
thing with tagines, I like putting fruit in them as well.
yes, I was going to just mention that. I haven't put it on the recipe, but you can put soft prunes or apricots in, that kind of thing. I didn't think somebody not too far away from me here would warm to that, so I put it in ours. But you that's the tradition, is to put dates or prunes or apricots or all of them. It's
I've
putting
got I've got loads of frozen pears to use up.
yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I'm not cooking it in a traditional dish. I'm just doing it in a casserole dish. But if you've got the proper,
I know I haven't. No, I haven't.
I'm just so impressed at how tender the meat is and how flavoursome it is, considering we haven't stood here browning every side of each piece of beef. That's another thing I can't bear doing. It's just sort of
Right.
having to, brown it all. But it's really flavoursome. Right, what do I need? I don't need anything other than weight, which I've got here. That's good. No, I quite like thinking up different ways of using the same ingredients that don't involve too much work. And my days of uh, of sort of what should I say, gourmet cooking are over. I'm not. I haven't got the energy to stand there and make every single thing from scratch. I mean, we don't do badly, and we'll often have homemade pasta, which Trev makes, and things like that. But making everything just so, it's too exhausting, really, when you're working as well.
Yeah.
Right, that's 5 minutes. But have you used any of your jars yet?
Yeah. I've had the chicken one twice. I did a pie and then I did the other one. I heated it up, but I had some leftover chicken, so I put that in. So that was nice.
Mm.
The sausage meatballs, which I did as a soup, that is a big success. It was very nice.
Well, Jane said her son came home and ate 3 jars straight off, one each day. She said,
Yeah,
I've got to make
yeah,
some more though, because he's eaten it all.
yeah. But I fancy making it like just the meatballs or the patties, doing doing that as
Yeah,
well. But I haven't, but that's something else that I want to do.
yeah,
Uh, and of course, I've used a lot of the beans
yes.
because I added it to the chicken stew, and then I did a butternut spice, a vegetarian spice dish yesterday.
Hmm.
So I opened a couple of jars of the pulses we did.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's it because I missed the mince one. I sort of started to watch it, but I have to go upstairs and I'd rather watch it downstairs. So I haven't got to the end of it yet.
No,
The mince because
that's just another super convenience food, there for all sorts of things you can make with it, as you can imagine. So
yeah.
it's a good one to do.
Did
Uh,
you do it in the 750 ml jars?
no, I do it in the 500s. That's enough for us for one meal. It
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
be enough to make 2 meals out of it, but it's enough for,
yeah,
I don't like kind of keep eating the same thing every day. So
yeah,
it just makes, I've got a smallish pottery dish which I can make a cottage pie in, or if I want to make bolognese or anything, it is just the perfect size really for
yeah,
two moderate eaters. If you've got somebody that eats a lot, then you
yeah,
probably need 2 jars. But
yeah.
no, I did 14 jars straight off in the canner. It's
Oh, excellent.
yeah, it's good. Let's get my cloth ready.
I'll check my canner.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm on sound. I'm the only person.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, please.
We're just eating the flatbreads.
Ah, yeah, just imagine it's very nice.
Yeah.
Is there any rugby on?
It's in fact the Army BRAF.
Oh, right.
Watch
Oh, very good.
things on. That was I was on.
My husband's watching the Army RAF rugby match.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Rugby's not on our radar, I'm afraid, but it's that time of year, isn't it? It's all on, and I know with my daughter-in-law, she's from Wales, and so she's a great Welsh rugby fan, and I always know there's a match on because Facebook is full of her. We've put in flags up and all sorts of things, so it's you can see the venting there, really.
Oh, yes, really going for it.
Yeah. This new canner is very much better. I just don't think I'd maintain my other one thoroughly enough, really. But live and learn. We're starting our rental scheme in about a week's time, so that will be interesting. We've got quite a few people who want to take that up, so we're probably I can't imagine what sort of chaos it's going to be, knowing who's got what. But anyway.
Is this all local or sort of?
No, it's all over the place, and you've got standard canners, induction hob canners.
Oh,
It's all going to have to be quite regimented, but you live and learn, don't you? You don't know till you try.
interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people were really relieved, I think is probably the word, because there's people who want to try it out and don't know if they'll like it. There's people who haven't got room for a canner in their flat or apartment. And then there's people who just want to see what it's all about. And because, it's a big investment. If you don't want to do it or you think it's too much work, then you're stuck with it, So people jumped on. We just put out an exploratory newsletter. And then since we've got a good response, we've spent a couple of weeks sort of getting it all together, getting the canners in and all that sort of thing. So, right, I'm going to put my weight on. So I think the first rental will be starting the coronation weekend.
Oh, how funny.
So they'll get 2 bank holidays in. Oh no, it starts the week before on the 1st. So they'll get that bank holiday and the coronation weekend. So just to kick it all off. There is a class the week of the coronation, weekend of the coronation. We missed 2 now because April's got 5 Saturdays in it.
All right.
So the next one is the coronation Saturday.
Right.
I'm going to do it because I'm not going to be watching the coronation. I need to just watch the news or something.
Yeah.
So, but if you are going to watch it, then you can catch up after.
Right. I don't know what I'm doing. It's just, I think it's just coming up to, not steaming properly, but I think it's just sort of beginning to steam a bit. Bench.
Sounds about the right time.
Not a steady. Yeah, I think it's steaming enough. It's like a little steady stream. I've got a window open at the far end of the room, and I think, yeah, it's all right. I'm going to put my timer on, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I can hear it boiling away inside.
Good, good. Well, you're okay then. You're set. So if you're okay to time that and then get up to pressure.
Yeah, I'll leave it for I'll put my timer on in a minute. I think it's nearly there. I've just turned it up a fraction and to get it a bit more steady steam. It's actually bubbling up a bit through the vent lock, but
Yeah, but it
put
will.
my timer on.
Yeah. Okay. Were you okay then to?
Yeah, I'll is it 1 hour 30 minutes? No, it's 10 minutes vent.
Yeah.
And when I put my wriggler on,
Yeah.
I've got 1 litre jars, which are the main 6 of those, and a 500 ml. So I'll go for 1 hour 30.
Yes. That's what mine is as well. So it's going to be. It's going to be +5, isn't it?
5:05, 20 to 6 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll see you then. I might get my other one ready.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
I'll get it started.
Okay then. I'll see you
Okay.
then.
See you
Okay.
then.
Bye. Okay, welcome back. My pressure canner is switched off, but now depressurizing. So while it's doing that, I'm going to just show you the recipe from the sheet that I did, which is for a tagine, which is a Middle Eastern dish of anything really, it seems. Beef, lamb, goat, pork. You can make it of anything, just vegetables, but Middle Eastern spices, not particularly hot, just very, very flavorful. And I think it's typified by having things like dried fruits in it, prunes, dates, of course, and apricots, things like that. You can put into it as well if you want to. So I'm starting off, I've got my spices already in this dish mixed together, and there's some ginger in there, teaspoon of ginger, teaspoon of cumin, ground cumin, paprika and ginger. And so I've mixed those together, and I'm just going to pop them in the pan, and then I'm going to put that on to heat up and just heat them together for a couple of minutes just to bring out the flavors. I'm not going to add any fat to it of any kind or oil. I'm just going to move them around in a minute once the heat gets into it. And I've got 2 jars here of my beef. They're smaller jars than I've made today. So I've got 2 jars, beef and vegetables. So you can see what the cooked version looks like. I've got some passata. You can put passata, or you can put tomatoes in. Of course, the meat has already got the veg and the garlic and so on in there. And then I've got some beans. So you would traditionally use chickpeas, but I haven't got any left done. So I'm going to be doing that this week. In the week, I've got to top up my bean store, but I've got some haricot beans there, which are very, very similar. So they're going to go in. I've got a generous glass of red wine. You can put that in or you can leave it out. It's up to you. And the last ingredient I'm going to put in is some salted lemons, which is again traditional. I don't know if you've ever done these. They don't look that appetizing, but they smell amazing. They're very easy to do. And in my recipe site, there is a recipe for them. And you just literally slice up fresh lemons and preserve them in lemon juice with coriander, some salt, and some bay leaves, coriander seeds, salt and bay leaves. And it goes this wonderful dark color here, almost in a gel from the pectin from the lemon. These are probably about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. And it traditionally, the older they are, the more they're revered, and they can go almost black if you have them long enough. So they look pretty when they're first done, but don't have the flavor that they have when they've been soaking for several years. It's literally lemon and salt in a jar, and then you pour over some more fresh lemon juice and then keep them. You can use them straight away, but it's best not to, really. So this is warming up, so that's okay. I'm going to undo my jar. So we've got the scenario again of you've been out in the garden all day at the weekend, or been to work or a match, and you want something tasty and quick for a meal without too much fussing about. You can literally open these jars, mix them together, heat them up. If you want to make the flatbreads, you can do that while this is heating up. You can heat it up on the hob, or you can heat it up in the oven, whichever you prefer. You can serve it with rice. Couscous would be traditional. Lots of chopped parsley and mint, fresh mint over the top. Or we had it recently with orzo pasta, which looks like big fat rice grains basically, but it's made of little tiny bits of pasta, which was very nice. So this is smelling very, very cuminy. It tends to dominate things, I think, in the kind of smell area, but the ginger and so on will come through in the taste very definitely. I'll give them another couple of minutes. What I'm going to do is pour the wine in next, because that will cook off some of the alcohol and leave the flavour before I put the meat in. Let's have a look. You may also see on the recipe this time, and going forward, I'm going to try and do it every time, I've costed what we're making per 500 ml jar. So the meat and the vegetables per 500 ml jar is about £3, depending on the price you pay for the meat and depending how many vegetables you put in. But that's what mine cost. I know I did it in a bigger jar, but I've just done it on the 500 to make life easy. With the tagine, with all the extra ingredients, which aren't costly, the beans and the tin of tomatoes or passata, it costs, it will serve at least 4 people. And then it costs at about £2 per person, because you've eked out the meat with lots of other things. So it does end up being a very economical supper. So I'm going to pour my wine in now, all in one go, and that will cook off a bit. Mix in the spices. You don't have to put that in. It's entirely optional. And that, of course, reduces the price, because I've costed that at about £3 for a glass of wine, which is probably a bit cheap, but we have a wine box, so I don't actually know what that costs out to. I'm going to start getting these open. You can see they've kind of stayed in their layers in the jar. The meat at the bottom and then the vegetables. I'm trying to think which way around I do that. Yeah. What? Yeah. I just got to find the right space. There we go. Unlike a lot of the processed jars that we do, it doesn't look pretty when you first open it. The fat from the meat has come up onto the top. You've got the sort of stock has made a nice gravy there, but everything's in the jar, and once it's heated up, it all adds flavour and looks great. So don't be put off by the appearance once they are cooked or processed, shall I say. I'll put one in. I'm going to go around with my spatula to get all the meaty bits off the jar. That's one. Oops. And two. I'm going to try and show you some of the meat, if I can, like dropping it everywhere. Put it on there and hold it over. You can see it's, oops, beautifully cooked. It's not falling apart. It's still firm, but beautifully tender. So no worries about it tasting like tinned meat. It's many years since I've had tinned meat, I have to say, but I've got my spare jar here of vegetables. You know, I said when we were jarring originally, if you've got spare vegetables, just do them in the stock. And I think I'm going to put them in to this tagine. I put all the contents of the jar in. I'm not draining them or anything. Can't get this one open. Almost. That's it. And that's the one with just vegetables. That We want some beans. Seems like a cheat, doesn't it, ending up with all these empty jars? But we've put the work in, making it all. There's that. I'm not sure I need any tomato, to be honest. There's quite enough liquid in there. I think I'm going to not add in at this stage. I could always add that in later. Now I'm going to do my chopped lemons. I don't particularly want the coriander in there. It can stay in the jar. Get one more piece. And that by now they're extremely soft. So you're not going to be biting through lumps of hard lemon peel or anything like that. But the smell is absolutely fragrant and lovely. There's that, and stir that in. So there you are, there's dinner done. If you want to thicken it a bit towards the end, you can just use a couple of teaspoons of corn flour with some water and stir it in and just thicken it slightly if that's your preference. It's certainly mine, and that's what I usually do. I'm not a lover of sort of thin gravies particularly, but that's easy enough to do. And you can have this, as I say, with rice or couscous, or you'd even have it over a jacket potato or something if you've got a lot of hungry teenagers to fill up, or have both. You know what they're like, they'll eat anything. So I would put that in the oven or on the hob for about 30 minutes to sort of thoroughly heat and meld together in flavour. And I would thicken it towards the end of that cooking time. But in that time, you can either be making the flatbreads if you're going to do them, or getting your rice cooked or couscous prepared. And I hope you enjoy it. You can obviously do other things with the meat in the jars, but I thought that was just one lovely flavoured alternative. Okay, I'll take that out. I'm just going to clear all these jars away so that I can put out my mat for the other jars to come out. Yeah. Don't need that. all that. Turn that off now because I'm going to be heating that up again later. Put the lid on. Wait for that to drop. My towel out ready to put my jars on. Well, now next time will be in 3 weeks' time because of April has 5 weeks in it, 5 Saturdays in it. So we're doing 2 a month. So next time will be at the beginning of May, which is the 6th of May, which is the coronation day in the UK. So I fully expect to be here on my own, cooking away, and rather aptly we'll be doing chicken. I know we've touched on chicken with the soup that we made, but this is just prepping and processing raw chicken. I'm kind of shying away from making coronation chicken, but I guess it's gonna come up somewhere or other. But so I'll put out a sheet for that. I mean, it won't be a recipe as such. I'll try and get a recipe attached to it that's suitable, but there's very little to actually do to it before we process it. But it's such a useful thing to have on the shelf. You can't not do it. So I did show you some chicken before, I think, that I'd done. So we'll just be doing some of that. And, you know, I'll be very pleased if you can join me live, but I'll understand if you can't, because it's sort of one of those once in a lifetime, hopefully, days that people will want to witness, I guess. So how are you switched off now, Rosalind? You must be switched off and
yeah, I'm switched off and I'm waiting for it to go down to naught.
yeah, me too.
My jiggler's on.
Yeah, that's it. Mine's at about 2.5 at the moment, so it won't be long.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions at all?
Well, that lemon thing sounds absolutely delicious. So if you slice the lemons up, you said your recipe's on your website, isn't it?
It's on the Rosie Makes Jam recipe website.
Right.
We'll put I don't know if we can put a link in the comments there. But basically you can do it one of 2 ways, and I do it cutting the lemons down from the top into 8. Take out any loose pips and everything, but don't fuss with it if they're buried.
Preserved lemons.
Preserved lemons, yeah, you'll be looking for on the recipe site. And then I do it like that because they're easier to pack into a jar. They're more efficient.
Right.
You put in coriander seeds, you know, you sprinkle them in as you go in the layers. You add sea salt as you go, and it doesn't really matter how much salt you use. But the recipe's on there anyway. Just put it up now.
Right.
And you pack them in, and then you I mean, this is really heavy on lemons, but I mean, if you see a bargain, then this is the time to do it. And you can then squeeze some more lemon juice and pour over. And if you run out of lemon juice, you can top it up with boiling water.
Yeah.
And you tuck in a couple of bay leaves and just leave them.
Yeah. Right. No, it sounds really, really nice. It sounds excellent.
They're very useful in all sorts of things, and but particularly they're traditional in a tagine and in Eastern food. I mean, you could put them in rice and that kind of thing, you know, chopped up small, they'd be lovely. Anything like that. And some people rinse them off when they use them, but I don't. I just sort of hook them out of the jar and
yeah. Do you store them in the fridge or just leave it? Is it shelf stable?
They're shelf stable. The salt preserves them. The lemons are antibacterial and preserve themselves, really. Yeah. And the lemon juice, it's all good to go. You know, there isn't much that's going to be able to get there and spoil anything. So that you just pack them in and make sure the jar's topped up, and then just leave them on the shelf and forget about them really until they're you know, nice and like I showed you. Yeah, the recipe's up now on the side, the link to it, so you can follow that. And
right. Yeah, no, that's lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, they I think I'm right in saying if you visit somebody in the Middle East, I mean, I'm saying Middle East as though it's kind of, you know,
yeah,
but generally in that part of the world, if you were to visit them and take a jar of preserved lemons that were really dark brown or nearly black, then they'd be so highly prized, because that takes probably, I don't know, 10-15 years to get like that.
Really?
And but they're still good. They're the best kind when they're really, really, really dark. I mean, mine are dark, quite dark, but they're highly prized when they're really, I don't know what you call it, really, macerated, I suppose, to that
Oh,
level.
right.
But it's just another one of those fascinating things that have all the right ingredients from nature to preserve itself, you know.
Yeah. No, it sounds fabulous.
Yeah.
I definitely like that, right?
Well, they make a good gift as well for hampers or Christmas. You know, if you make a jar of them, and you can just write on a little card what you do with them, you know, because that's the other thing. People get them and they don't know whether they're supposed to go in their gin and tonic or whether they're, you know, what they're supposed to do. And
yeah.
I know I made some and sold them at a Christmas fete or fair at our local village hall, and a friend of mine bought nearly all of them, because she's traveled widely and she wanted to give them, she knew all about them and she wanted to give them to her friends, and she gave one to her cousin, and he came in most irate after Christmas and banged it down on the table. What am I supposed to do with this? So I just very calmly printed some information. I googled and printed off some information there, and printed it off for him and gave it to him, and he went.
It adds something extra special, doesn't it, when you know these things to a meal?
Yes, yeah, it does. I mean, it's all layers, isn't it? And you start off with your generic jar of beef and tasty vegetables, or tasty beef and vegetables.
Yeah.
You know, and you can drive it in all sorts of different directions.
Yeah.
And make it what you want it to be on that particular day. You start off with the same thing, and it ends up being, you know, whatever. I mean, if you were making like a casserole, like a French type casserole, you've already got the red wine in. I'd cook some rashers of bacon and chop up and add those in, some mushrooms, and it changes it all again into a different direction. And you know, it's that's the good thing about it.
I tell you what, my vent lock is still up. That always comes up. Does yours? That little chimney thing?
Yeah, it's still up. but I'm
Yeah.
not quite down to naught yet. I've got one little bar to go.
Right. Oh, just like me. A herbal one, please. It's just
But I hope the costing will be useful, because you know, it bothers me. I don't want to be just giving you recipes and ideas and as though cost doesn't matter. You know, I want to be doing things that if you're going to be making it and using it for a family, you've got some idea of what the outlay is, and I think that's really important. And also it's interesting, I think, to see how much difference making a bigger dish of it with more ingredients evens out the cost of it being the jar of meat, which is relatively expensive compared to what you end up with. So it's interesting for me to see it, as well as hopefully others as well, you know, on the recipe. I thought if Jamie Oliver can do it, so can I. Oh goodness, it's not that easy to do though, actually costing a recipe per portion. It's right, come on. Still hissing. Oh. There we are. We're down to naught anyway, so nice little dregs, isn't it, of steam and
yeah.
bubbles. You could just hear the odd.
Mine's on naught, but I can still hear it sort of like steaming.
Yeah, I think once the airlock goes down, it will. Oh,
My airlock's still stuck up.
yep.
I'll just wait. That's all.
Yep. Yes, I know in the picture for the workshop, I've got a whole chicken. We won't be doing a whole chicken in a jar.
Right.
I know
Right.
some people do. I don't know what they do it in, because you, for the size of jar you'd need for the chicken, you wouldn't be able to get it in the canner. But I know people do, or in America, so they must just have a bigger. I think some of the all-American canners, you can get quite tall ones. So
All right.
so they put a whole chicken in a jar, like a clip top jar, a sort of 2 or 3 litre one, you know.
Right.
And we won't be doing that.
No, no. I wondered whether we'd have to butcher it, you know, sort of like a
No,
whole.
no, we
That'd
won't be
hard,
doing that
wouldn't it?
either.
No.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
But you can get whatever sort of chicken you like, you know. You can do wings, or you can not wings, thighs or breast meat. And we can do a mixture of both for different purposes, because some chicken meat is nicer for some things than others. I know you can do things like wings and legs with the bone in and everything, but I don't want to sort of fiddle about with it when I use it, so I just do the meat ready to go kind of thing. But
Oh, thank you. No.
come on.
Would you get boneless thighs or use thighs with bones?
I get boneless, skinless.
Or boneless and skin. So you always do boneless and skinless, right?
Yeah, it's just easier. I know you can get boneless with the skin on, but that's great, I suppose, if you're barbecuing them or roasting them, but we won't be. And I just think if you've got to take all the skin off, it's just a waste really of, you know, you end up with so much less to actually process. Come on, drop down. You can do it.
No.
Nope, not having it.
No, my dog's not having it either. Well, it's only this to wait for it to go down, and that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of, so you know, for the purposes of the recording, to see what it looked like. But I mean, you don't have to
I'll wait.
wait
I'll-
to the bitter end.
I'll wait because I've still got to wait. But
Yeah,
I've made the yogurt thing.
yeah.
Oh, you can't see, can you?
Oh yeah,
I don't know if I need some more flour.
probably. If you're gonna, what are you gonna do? What are you planning on doing with it?
Well,
The
I
flatbread.
I fancy the flatbread, but I think I might just put it on the tagine in the oven because that sounds nice as well.
Yeah. Well, if you just put a little bit more flour with it, you'd be okay. But it's up to you.
Yeah.
Or do one side of the tagine with the scone, sort of scones on,
Yeah.
like dumplings, and then we make a couple of flatbreads as well. See what you
Yeah.
prefer for next time, kind of thing.
Oh, mine's gone down. It's dropped. What's yours?
No.
You just
I'll take the weight up in a minute because it's all stopped. So, and that'll sort it.
I'll go and take my weight off then.
Yeah, it's okay. It's gone down now. Weight's off. That. I'll try and get this off without burning myself. What am I going to put it on? There, probably. All smelling good. Right. Wait for it. Right, now where are my tongs? Here. so difficult getting that first one out. Right. Tighten those up a bit. Needed.
I think I've had a bit of siphoning with mine because I can see a bit of fat in the water.
Possibly. I mean, mine's got a bit of that sort of surface on it, but it's not discoloured. It's just do them up and hope for the best. Right. These are really, really hot, but I'll try and pick one up just to show you how they've turned out. Still bubbling away there, and the meat at the bottom and the vegetables in their layer at the top, all lovely and cooked. I'm going to leave that be, leave it to its own devices, and I will take the screw lids off tomorrow and check the seals and make sure everything is as it should be.
Yeah.
So I'll see you in 3 weeks' time when
Oh, yeah. All being well, but like you say, it's the coronation, so it's a bit awkward, isn't it, really?
yeah, well, I'd published it all before all that happened, so I mean, you can't keep on changing your mind, so it doesn't matter to me. I mean, I'm not going to be a flower girl or anything, you know, so
All right then.
at the event.
Yeah. Well, you have a good few weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you when I see you, you know, whenever you can make it. And
Oh, are you there?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I just saw the chat thing with the link for the preserved lemons.
All right, yeah.
Not lost you. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you ever so much.
Okay, you're very welcome.
And you have a good
Enjoy.
week. Yeah, and all the best with your rentals.
Yes, yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And let me know how you get on with your tagine.
Yeah.
You know, drop me a line in the week and tell me if you liked it, and
Yeah.
not, you know.
Oh no, we'll do. I always try and find your email address, but I'll find it and I'll let you know how I get on.
Yeah, it's just hello@lovejars.co.uk.
It's what, sorry?
hello@lovejars.co.uk comes to me.
Hello.
Yes.
Oh,
It's a generic email address so that
hello, love jars. Hello, Love Jars. What was it again?
Hello at Love Jars,
Oh, at Love Jars.
know,
Yeah.
.co.uk.
Oh, that's lovely. That's
Same,
lovely.
same as the website. And
Yeah. Okay, then. Well, have a
Okay.
good week. Thanks ever so much.
okay, thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.